On Adapt and Respond, I want to talk about a judge's ruling on the 5 for 5 that affects the entire 2022 high school class. I also want to talk about Jeremiah Smith and his dream school that ain't Ohio State. And my goodness, Texas got a running back commit that has us all telling stories about that one dude that we knew was going to be in the NFL in high school because he got one of them dudes in Richmond, Texas right now. All that's coming up after the bumper. What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. If this is your first time watching Adapt and Respond, thank you for joining us here. We talk college football year round. If you're into that, hit that subscribe button and join the more than 218,000 subscribers to Adapt and Respond, a college football podcast. You can also catch our full episodes at 11 p.m. Central Standard Time, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, and then, of course, we're going to be on it on Saturday night. To start, I want to talk about Texas. I want to talk about Texas recruiting. I want to talk about Texas just being on a tear. Because you'll know that Texas landed the number one cornerback in the 2027 class in June in John Meredith III, who is ineligible to play his last year of high school football and has elected to enroll, reclassify at the University of Texas. No telling whether or not he's going to play, but given that Texas does have some ways to get you on the football field, it will be interesting, right? I think he can help them. They also have a commitment from five-star wide receiver Easton Royal, who's, kind of on the fence, but they've had that commitment since last November in the 2027 class. He's really, really talented. But on Saturday, Texas picked up a commitment from 2027 Richmond Randall tailback Landen Williams-Callis. And I can tell you a lot of things about LWC. I can tell you that he's reminding everybody of Maurice Jones-Drew because of his size. He's 5'7.5", about $190. Because of his speed, he runs a 10.5 100-meter dash, and MJD ran a 10.8 100-meter dash. You can do the size step, right? You could even say he reminds you a lot of Bijan Robinson because the numbers that he be putting up in high school are ridiculous, which I'll get you in a second. I can tell you his cousins are Jaquiz Rogers and James Rogers, 09 Oregon State All-Americans. I can tell you his uncle, Michael Lewis, who was an All-American in Colorado and an All-Pro in 2004. So you can see the bloodlines. But what had me cackling in our show meeting was that Landen Williams-Callis rushed for 3,500 yards and 59 TDs last year at a 5A high school in Texas. To which I'm looking around at the rest of the 5A high schools in Texas like, oh, for real? They'll just gonna let him do that? But before all of that, I'm going, wait, are there enough yards, physical yards on the football field, given where you spot the ball, for this man to pick up 3,500 yards? By contrast, Bijan Robinson rushed for 2,200 yards in his last year as a high school senior, right? My man's also rushed for over 7,000 yards in his career as a high school football player in Arizona. 114 total TDs. So when I tell you that Texas has a recruit who rushed for 3,500 yards and 59 TDs in 1 year of football, you can see I'm a little giddy about it. So you watch the man huddle film, and again, 5'7.5", $190. All right, I need to see it. And you know what I saw? A bunch of children that did not want to put their hands on this man. It was a whole bunch of children that had made business decisions very early. A lot of arm tackles. A lot of I was chasing him. And every now and again, I would see somebody that was like, nah, I'm bout it. I'm about to put my 5-star on his 5-star. And that man would run straight through somebody's face. I watched another child try to run him down from behind, and he got parallel with him, and it was almost as if Landen Williams-Callis was playing with this man because he said, I got 2 more years, and he left him. That kept happening. Okay? Stretch play. They broke through. Like I don't know what his line was looking at, because I saw 3 dudes come through just unblocked completely. And I saw 3 dudes get shirt and punched, and he was off and running. I have not been this giddy about a Texas high school football recruit since Bijan, because y'all all know that Bijan one of them ones, and we knew he was one of them ones when he got to Texas, and he's been one of them ones since he got with the Falcons. It's just crappy because he's a Falcon, and the Falcons is sorry, and the Falcons is probably always going to be sorry, because the Falcons got Michael Penix Jr., who is hurt, Tua Tagovailoa, who is garbage, Cooper Rush, who they just signed, and some other rookie that don't really matter. And yet, you've got Bijan, you got Kyle Pitts, you got Drake London, and you can't do nothing with none of that. It sounds a lot like Texas when Steve Sarkisian first got there now, doesn't it? Difference, though, is this man could be joining a class that already has Eastern Royal in it. You know, John Meredith going to be on campus. Arch Manning going into this year is draft eligible, but you know what? 5'5", everybody gets to play. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So as I'm going through it, and I'm looking around at how I might view other players, right? I talked about MJD, you know, a guy that some people have compared him to is DeAndre Swift. I'm like, DeAndre Swift ain't never been that fast in his life. I got to ask producer Ron, what do you think about this recruit after everything that I've just told you?
I think that this is one of those situations where there's levels to this, and a lot of kids are realizing that maybe football is not in their future. What's interesting about him is that compared to, say, Derrick Henry's high school mixtape, this is less child abuse. This is one of those the children. He ran for 3,500 yards. Assuming that you got a kickoff and you have a starting position, that man's going for it every single play. I don't even think the defense has time to put their hands on their hips to be like, wow, you really getting beat, because the band is just playing the fight song again because they scored again.
Have y'all been doing y'all running? Have y'all been in shape? Because we got one of them ones back there. He gonna put us to work. Everybody getting worked. Everybody getting worked out tonight. What's funny about Derrick Henry, and you bringing it up, I'm glad you did, because his tape out of Yulee, Florida is legendary. But Derrick Henry ain't playing on no 5A football team. Derrick Henry was quite literally playing with little children, comparatively speaking. Okay? They had a Derrick Henry rule. Like, he scored so many touchdowns, he couldn't play no more. Like, it was agreed upon. Everybody understood what time it was. Don't nobody need that. And even then, you know, I think he rushed for 4,200 yards or whatever. But it's not Texas 5A football. We make movies about Texas high school football. We make movies about Texas 5A high school football. Okay? We got stars that are born playing characters that are Texas 5A high school football players. Michael B. Jordan won an Oscar last year or this year, right? For Sinners. Thomas Crown Affair might be good. We all team MBJ over here. Okay? My man got lunch playing Vince in Friday Night Lights with East Dillon. That's what Texas high school football is at that level. So when you tell me one of these dudes showed up, I'm like, oh, LaDainian Tomlinson, huh? Is that what we have here? Vince Young, is that what we have here? Because that's how it feels. It feels like we're about to watch. Now I got it. Now I got it. Virginia Fleck. Because at first, producer Ron said A Star Is Born, and I'm like, that sounds so cliche, but it's true, right? Because you're thinking about it. I've never been more excited for a dude to get somewhere. And I feel like there's a whole bunch of people that are going to be the Oklahoma whoop to whoop. I love college football, and I love seeing superheroes play college football. It's fun for me. So when I seen this, and And I said, oh, you're going to get an opportunity to do this in the SEC? No wonder Steve Sarkisian is feeling real good and selling wolf tickets, because like last year is like the first year in memory that Steve Sarkisian called an offense that didn't have a 1,000-yard rusher. He prides himself on it. He loves to run the football. They do a lot of misdirection, but they didn't have two dudes that could do it last year, right? Quintravion Wisener was not as good as he was the year before. C.J. Baxter coming off an injury wasn't as good as the year that he got there. Jonathan Brooks was great years ago. Bijan, you understand. But it feels like with Hollywood Smothers, Raleek Brown, one of them dudes is going to go for 1,000 yards. Raleek looked rocked up. He looked big. That's a dude that went from playing slot to playing tailback and now looks the part. Also gets another year of eligibility. And you're going to add this man to the room. Let me tell you something. Somebody in the Texas running back room is already upset. Somebody in the Texas running back room has already gone to their running back coach and said, I'm transferring because you're not going to see the ball, money. He going to see the ball. What is it? What was it? I'm trying to think. The last time I could, remember Lindell White, Reggie Bush, right? Some of us thought that Lindell White was actually the charmer in there. But it's one of these where I'm going to equate it to racehorses because I think the analogy sticks here. I got Secretariat and War Emblem in the backfield. Damn it, I'm going to run them. That's exactly how I feel right now, is what are we throwing the football for at all? Of course, my wide receiver's going to be mad, but I'm going to be like, hey, offensive line, it's on you, baby. It's all on you. It's not going to be their fault. It's going to be your fault. Because that dude back there got people bouncing off of him, running away from him. All I need you to do is put a hat on a hat, get him to the second level, let him do some of that running back stuff. Good grief. Texas, congratulations. You once again have a dude that has me very excited to see him play football for another year, like you did Arch Manning, who I still think is going to be great. We're going to talk about Jeremiah Smith and his greatness coming off of Big Ten Media Days where I was in Chicago last week. We're going to talk a little bit about what the 5-for-5 rule means, and all that's coming up after the break. Back on Adapt and Respond with me, RJ Young. If you are new to the channel, join the more than 218,000 subscribers to Adapt and Respond, a college football podcast. You can also catch our shows Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, Saturdays at 11 p.m. Central Time. It's fun. We're doing one right now. If you're still watching it and you haven't subscribed to the Apple Podcast, Spotify Podcast, maybe you would like to do that. I want to talk about the 5-for-5 rule, and I want to talk about the 5-for-5 conjunction. So for those of you that live underneath that particular rock, on Friday, a federal district judge made the declaration sweeping that the entire class of 2022 is eligible for a fifth year of college athletics. That means that if you thought your eligibility was exhausted after 4 years, you are wrong. You have a fifth year. So for football's sake, this means that a lot of guys that have gone through the NFL draft process and who have been through minicamp and rookie camp or have been let go before training camp are eligible to return to their programs. And to wit, there have been many general managers who have told CBS Sports On 3 and me that they already know which former players they're going to try to pursue and who would be eligible under the ruling. And they'd be rather happy to take them back for the 2026 season. So among those players that are interested in returning, we got all Big 12 safety, Miles Rouser, and we got an ex-Florida State quarterback in Thomas Castellanos. We got a Virginia defensive end in Kasim Moore. I did a segment on this, right? Stephen Daly at Indiana can return, along with Kellen Wyatt. That's your best defensive end, and your second best linebacker can come to Indiana. But there's a caveat here. You cannot enter the transfer portal because the transfer portal is closed. You don't get to supersede that. It's not enjoying that process, right? So teams mostly have 3 or 4 roster spots left. Like when I talked to a general manager about this, he said, "A, it's a cluster F-CK, but one in which they're going to invite. You also have between 4 and 8 spots generally available on your 105 roster cap. Do you have the revenue sharing cap space, if you will, to sign these players? And if you do, who are you going to go get?" So some teams won't have the money. Some absolutely will. And there have been more than a few players that we already know about. So one of my favorites in here is Cole Hudson, who we talked about earlier in this year, who sought and got an injunction against the NCAA based on the 5-for-5 rule that would allow him to come back to Texas, and they're actively engaging in that process. That's a guy who played 43 games, has like 29 starts, who can help your offensive line. Another guy that is really interesting to me is Ismail Mahdi, who was absolutely a monster at Arizona and meant the world to them in their run game. Get him back in the fold to help Noah Fafita perhaps pursue a Big 12 championship. I mean, they're like 1 score games away from perhaps playing for the Big 12 championship last year. Stephen Daly, I mentioned. I mean, that dude was a monster, and then he got hurt in the postseason. Now you get him back. That can change a lot of programs, but the one that's really interesting to me, and we haven't done a lot of talking about, is Texas Tech, who had a quarterback, Brendan Sorsby, loudly lost that quarterback. Is going to start Will Hammond, and I think Will Hammond is good, and I think he is ready for that job. But if you could add a veteran presence, say like Thomas Castellanos, would you? Now, he can't transfer to Texas Tech this right now, but is there somebody that you could go get? I don't know, right? I don't know if they if you're looking at their quarterback depth chart from a year ago, is there anyone on it that you might want to go get? Like, say, Baron Morton. It's a real conversation to be had about perhaps bringing a guy back for a 5th year. Producer Ron, what do you think about this stuff?
I only worry about where do what does a coach even do in a situation like this? I framed this, the bit of research that I have here is it, would you bring back a 5th guy if it meant disrupting your team, your locker room? I believe that the teams work in the I'm giving the coaches the kind of point of view that you would give like a cornerback, which is the last play doesn't matter. Don't look in rear view. It's only what's in front of you. So if you already put a plan in place, you've already got a roster that you are ready to move forward with. Do you bring back that 5th year guy? Should you bring back that 5th year guy?
I'm bringing him back. And at first, I talked to my position coaches, my coordinators, to say we want to bring him back because I'd like to bring him back. And they say we're going to bring him back. And then I tell my position coaches, make this work. Make this fit. And it shouldn't be that difficult because it would be a veteran presence that you're bringing back. It's a guy that most of your team already knows. And if you're bringing him back, he can help you, whatever capacity that might look like, right? Whether it's a veteran presence in your room or a guy that quite literally going to depend on to start games for you and finish games for you. I think this is a net positive on the whole. I think the working the money out is really the thing. And that's where I'm going to my general manager going, make this work with our budget if we can. But I don't see this as a bad thing for my football team. I only see this as a good thing, especially as training camp begins on Wednesday for most teams. So get this dude in the room as quickly as you can. And, again, it's 105. You ain't got to have all 105. And you don't have to have this roster finalized until week 1. So if he doesn't fit or he's out of shape, he ain't got no spot. And in that way, you get to operate much more like an NFL franchise, which I think is going to make everybody feel a little bit more comfortable about this. There's no guarantee. So you show up, you can play, and you can help us, cool. We keep you around. If you can't, and you are a locker room nuisance, I'm going to give you the boot. And that's fine. We come back after the break. I want to talk about Jeremiah Smith and his dream school, which ain't Ohio State. Respond with me, RJ Young. If you are new to the channel, consider joining the more than 218,000 subscribers to Adapt and Respond, a college football podcast. You can also catch us on Apple and Spotify Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, 11 p.m. Central Standard Time. Jeremiah Smith was talkative at Big Ten Media Days, and I had fun listening to him. I was in Chicago for all 3 days of the event. It was held at the Hilton on Michigan Avenue, which is a great big old hotel with grand ballrooms. I took a bunch of pictures. I even posted a bunch of pictures that I took in Chicago on the Instagram because sometimes I think I'm a photographer. But in this room, it was very interesting to see who's got the most attention on what given day. So the day that Ohio State went is also the day that Oregon went, Northwestern went, a couple others. But Julian Sayin and Jeremiah Smith were both brought in, which meant that Ryan Day is not hiding anybody or hiding anything. Generally speaking, coaches don't like to bring quarterbacks unless they know they got a guy. And they know they got a guy. For that matter, Dante Moore showed up for Oregon, right? Jeremiah Smith coming to media days also means the best college football player in the entire country is in one spot for 45 minutes, for a half an hour for you to ask him questions. So getting around him to hear him speak and the kind of confidence he spoke with was interesting. And he said a number of things that I thought were noteworthy. One of them is this. Growing up, my dream school was Alabama when Nick Saban was there. They wasn't recruiting me, though. It is what it is. But I always wanted to go to Bama growing up. Goes on. That was crazy. I mean, I always dreamed about going to Alabama because a lot of guys at that time from South Florida was going to Bama and having success, like Amari Cooper, Jerry Jeudy, Calvin Ridley. I think I committed to Ohio State too early, and that's why they stopped. They thought there was no chance. For which I have one thought. Nick Saban, what the hell are you doing? What are you thinking, TV analyst Nicky Saban? Because that's the second time I've heard something crazy that Nick Saban has said or done. Okay? The first thing he said at the end of SEC Media Days was, you can't judge who's got the best conference based on who won the national championship. What? Huh? Try saying that at the SEC after you won a national championship. Good God, man. That wasn't Nick Saban that said that, was Nicky. Nicky Saban said that. Nicky Saban on TV. Nick Saban would never say nothing like that. Nicky Saban, he'll say all kinds of stuff. And apparently, Nick Saban will do all kinds of stuff like not recruit Jeremiah Smith out of high school. When the boy says out loud, I would have gone. Y'all recruit me like Ohio State recruit me. I might have gone. Same thing might be true with Miami, a place he grew up going to. And they made a run at him going, hey, man, why don't you enter the portal? Leave from Ohio State. Come on to Miami. And he's like, nah, I'm doing this Ohio State thing. He also spoke to that. He spoke to legacy. He spoke to everybody's getting money now. Be smart about your reputation, which I haven't heard enough players say out loud. Everybody's getting money now. Your reputation is your reputation, though. And if you become one of these dudes that transfers multiple times, that's your reputation. And the money faucet, it don't like to turn on for people that, shall we say, are unfaithful in their marriage to their universities, because that's how a lot of people feel about it. And they feel about it because you either grow up rooting for one team or you got a diploma from that one team, so they got your money. And you're sending your kids to that one team, so they got your kids and your kids' money and your money. Don't be playing with that. And Jeremiah Smith is not, right? Going into Ohio, this is the last year. Like, somebody was like, hey, what do you think about, you could play 2 more years of football at Ohio State. And he was looking at him like, are you crazy? Ain't no way. No, he didn't say that, but his face was like, no, 3, I'm out. I'm going to NFL. What do I look like? Which I also think is smart, depending on how you might look at this. Because he goes to the NFL draft. I think he's the number 1 pick. And you start to make even more money because his NIL deals become even larger in the NFL. Anybody's going to want to sign with him, keep him, so forth, so on. Producer Rod, what is it that strikes you as interesting about Jeremiah Smith declaring his dream school as Alabama?
The thing that struck me was like the question that I had was, what does it mean to have a dream school nowadays? Because if you're Jeremiah Smith, you know, you live in this very contemporary period where it's hard to ignore the money. Uh, and I'm doing the research for this. I'm trying my best not to be the oldest man in the world, because in my brain, I'm still thinking about the program, blue chips, hoop dreams, right? The 80s and 90s where uh, the kids that are going to school, in my experience, because I'm a coach's kid, and I spent a lot of time at our alma mater looking at the kinds of people that came in, which were, you know, I'm going to school because I'm trying to get off the farm. You know, I'm in school trying to get off, trying to make it out the trap. Right. That's you know, my mama wants to see me graduate, and I'd say that is still the hope right now, but that seemed to be like where it stopped, and not just like not football dreams, because everybody wants to lift the NFL trophy, right? Everybody wants to be MVP, but what does it mean to have a dream school? Because that kind of, to me, I think that you know, you're looking at that pageantry, you're looking at the tradition, you're looking at the history. But I wanted to know like your opinion on it, because 15 years ago you were covering kids, you know, doing the wing tee and the triple option. I don't think you've stopped since. So you've seen and talked to these kids for almost 2 decades. Uh, what does do the kids have a dream school? What's it look like?
I think it is curious that you bring up the program, ESU, anybody, blue chips, and seeing Penny Hardaway, then Penny Hardaway becoming Penny Hardaway, then Penny Hardaway becoming head coach in Memphis. You know, necessary roughness also fits into this. Every single sports movie that revolves around college, you and I have seen, but they don't make a dent with us until we get to be 12, 13, 14 years old, right? I'll even say 10. We can go ahead and get back that far. That is where your dream school is formed across the board. And many of these players, right, their dream school is based on what did they think they were when they were 9 to 14 years old? Who was doing it and who was doing it well, say at your position or on a big time screen. For instance, my favorite example of this, how in the blue hell is Arch Manning's dream school Texas? That's a good question that a lot of people should consider, because the boy is from New Orleans. He grew up watching his daddy go to Ole Miss, his uncle to Tennessee, his other uncle to Ole Miss, and his grandfather to Ole Miss. And not, in case you don't know, New Orleans ain't that far from LS friggin' U, who ain't got no Manning, never gonna get no Manning, apparently. I say that. We'll see what Marshall Manning does, but he in Tennessee right now, just tearing people up. And who can know, right? With Peyton Manning's son. But in as far as when the dream school is formed, think about how old Jeremiah Smith was when those dudes, Amari Cooper, talking about 2013, Jerry Jeudy, talking about 2017, Calvin Ridley, same age, right? That's about 9 years ago. That boy is 20, 21. That makes him 10, 11 years old when he is watching what was the quartet at the time, right? Like you saw Amari Cooper as a child, and then you saw Calvin Ridley, Jerry Jeudy, Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, Henry Ruggs. You just saw the best wide receivers in the country were all seemingly at Alabama, and they were winning championships. Right? I think that part has stayed. Like Baker Mayfield grew up an Oklahoma fan in Texas because Oklahoma was tearing people's asses apart, and he got one to play quarterback there. You know, that's the part. Or the way that a certain group of player, like Najee Harris, when he was still at Bama, got to see and talk to Reggie Bush, and his eyes got real big. Just enormous. I never forget that, because some of these dudes live in your mind's eye forever as that guy. That never changes. So when I talk to guys in 7th grade, because that's generally where I start talking to them and their parents, I'm always curious about who it is they think is cool, who it is whose jersey they be rocking, who it is they quietly enjoy, and that will reveal. The dream school hasn't changed. It hasn't. It is who's winning when I'm 11 to 14 years old, which means there are about to be a bunch of children that for no good damn reason except last year want to go to Indy friggin' Anna. And I can't wait to meet those children. Okay. After the bumper, I want to keep it in the Big Ten and talk about the game. And if you don't know the game, well, you can learn about it after this. Back on Adapt and Respond with me, RJ Young. If you are new to the channel, please join the more than 218,000 subscribers to Adapt and Respond, a college football podcast. You can also catch us on Apple and Spotify, where we premiere these episodes on Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday at 11 p.m. Central Standard Time. Big Ten Media Days is a lot of fun. I got to hang out. I got to talk to some ADs. I got to talk to some sources. I got to find out some things that I will reveal as we get closer and closer to the preseason that I think is going to interest you. But we're going to keep the main thing, which is coaches talking about their teams and what they think about the other teams in that league. Kyle Whittingham is new to the Big Ten. He is also coming into a spot that is one of the best jobs in all of sports, head coach, Michigan's football team. He also is following one scandal after another. This is a third consecutive year that Michigan has had to walk into Big Tens to answer for something. Cheating, or somebody getting fired for something stupid, or an AD who is going to have to step down voluntarily at the end of the year. AD that hired Kyle Whittingham. One of the things that I noted was how many ADs I got to walk and talk with and see, all right? Ross Bjork at Ohio State, for instance, Josh Whitman at Illinois. Warren Manuel wasn't nowhere to be seen. Kyle Whittingham out there on his own. And Kyle Whittingham coming from Utah, people want to know, are you invested in the game? The game is Ohio State, Michigan, national game, right? Biggest game on Fox where I work every single season. He is also a dude that is not shy about learning about the University of Michigan. Matter of fact, one of my favorite moments was him walking onto the podium stage and saying, hey, I know all the words to that song. Just got it down. And it was Hail to the Victors, right? Which is Michigan 101. You know the fight song, right? So when he was asked about the game and the rivalry and how intense it is, his answer is always going to be newsworthy, but in a different way this time. So what he said was, I've learned how intense that rivalry is, how important the game is. Hate's a strong word, but I want to win that game as badly as anybody in Ann Arbor. Like I said early on, what better scenario would there be than if that game came down to the championship in the Big Ten? That would be outstanding. So we'll see what happens. He goes on. I thought Ryan Day was a pretty good guy when I got to interact with him at the Rose Bowl. And based on what Urban Meyer has told me, I just think that a rivalry can be intense and emotional without hatred, the hatred factor. I don't think there's any place for that personally. I think Ryan Day's a good person to sit here and say, I hate Ryan Day. I'd be making crap up. Okay, let me unpack this, because there's a way to go about this that makes it fun without making the fun something nobody wants to enjoy. You'll know as a college football fan, hate's part of what makes the game fun. Styling on your rival is part of what makes the game fun. I like watching Texas play Texas A&M because I like it that they hate them, and they got to play each other. Two programs that refuse to play each other because they hated each other so much, right? That was the way in which they were going to display their hate. Now the SEC is like, too bad. Y'all are annuals again because everybody else eats off of y'all hate. Let the hate flow. We like our dark side energy here, okay? We be on Vader over here. Force choke them. You know what I'm saying? That's what you want, right? You do this with a lot of programs. Oklahoma, Texas, for instance. Alabama, Auburn, right? Florida, Georgia. Florida, Tennessee. My God, Florida, Tennessee. You know, you can keep going with this. You can make this happen. Ohio State, Michigan is on another level, mostly because Ohio State fans take it to that level. Michigan fans, they like winning. They don't like losing. But they really love tweaking off Ohio State fans, right? And Ohio State fans are not going to do anything other than wear this on their sleeve. They put red X's over the M's in everything on every street in Columbus for the entire week. Okay? They're not new to this. They're true to this. My favorite story about this is Chris Spielman, All-American linebacker at Ohio State, took a visit at a high school to Michigan, came back, told his old man, an Ohio State fan, Dad, I think I want to commit to Michigan. And his dad lost it. You know what? I've entertained this enough. I let you go up north. I let you see what everything was up there. You come back here. You tell me that? No, you're going to Ohio State, you traitor. And Spielman ends up at Ohio State. Okay? Then add to this another layer. Ryan Day has been very good, like extremely good about the messaging, and I understand the game, right? So when I first interviewed Ryan Day, very first time, it was Media Days 2022. Yeah. I got to ask him to say something nice about his biggest rival. He thought about it, looked dead at me, and said, no. Or the idea that Chase Bank wants to give you $17 million for you to put a little jersey patch right here. $17 million this year. And you come back and say, not if that patch is blue. And they say, you know what, you're right. What do we black out the blue. Can we keep the white? Yeah, the white's cool. You can keep the white. You can't have no blue though. That blew out my face. So for me, I'm looking at Kyle Whittingham, and he probably handled it like most Michigan people would handle it. I don't want to do hate. I don't like them. I want to win the game. I think the hate stuff is a little tired. I think the hate stuff is a little overwrought. And the rest of us who are about this college football is like, ooh, you don't get it. Okay, cool. You keep your like. You keep your like. We burn the ships to come burn you down. That's what we about. Producer Ron, what about this? Am I getting wrong, or do you think Kyle Whittingham might be getting wrong?
The thing that should Kyle Whittingham should he have kept this in the drafts? Because hearing him say it, my eyes can't roll hard enough. Not because he's necessarily wrong, but like that's the kind of thought that you keep on the inside. We have these conversations all the time, whether when a coach says something, maybe it's out of pocket, though I don't think this is necessarily as out of pocket as other things, but this is an inside thought. This is especially when you're talking about like Ohio State, Michigan. So okay, if that's the case, like if I think that he needs to keep, I think he should have kept this in the drafts. But is he wrong? Is he actually on to something?
I don't think anybody's going to tell him he's wrong, because don't nobody want to be the bad guy, right? Nobody wants to be the dude saying, yeah, hate them all, because then you leading into a space that people don't like to occupy. You know what I'm saying? Like you getting a little bit too far away from it, because then people start invoking war and football and those sorts of things, and that's not cool. Don't nobody want to do that. And as far as keeping it in the drafts, yes, I think this is a draft of something that is a good thought, a good sentiment. I think I would rewrite this for you. I think I would come up with some other way for you to form this thought that you have. But this is not what Kyle Whittingham does. Kyle Whittingham is going to do what Kyle Whittingham does. I'm learning that a lot from sources up in Michigan. That's just what he's going to do. But I also think that you got a note in here that I'm going to reference. Do you remember this OU Texas fan incident, 2007? Texas football fan nearly castrated in a bar fight in Oklahoma bar. To your point, is this going too far? That for me, like when I went to go review that story, that wasn't about football, dog. That wasn't about football. That was about somebody not knowing when it was time to shut up and walk out. And somebody else not knowing, hey, this kind of violence is only going to get you written about in the news. It ain't no bar fight no more. It is you tried to castrate this man over some dumb stuff, because that's what it became. It became some dumb stuff. But I also think he got another coach that some people would have said needed to keep some things in the draft. But then again, that would not be Kurt Cignetti. So the question, well, I want you to read the question that you gave to me, because I've been thinking about it and considering it. It's a little bit harder for me, I think, than Kyle Whittingham's drama.
I think Kyle Whittingham is he's part of the show. He is a spokesperson. So while I am not advocating for violence, I do not want to see anybody get nearly castrated at an IHOP someplace. But I think that's the far end.
Waffle House.
But I do want everybody in your program to feed into the spectacle, which I think Kurt Cignetti did really well, which is, instead of giving people you can't get fired up, because what Kyle Whittingham said was the equivalent of both teams played hard. It doesn't give you much to root for, but like if you're Kurt Cignetti, when he says that the Big Ten is the best, right? We go out there, and if God forbid we lose, we're not going to whine about it. That to me is creating like the storyline that people can absolutely take home. But is that? Would you agree that that is an ethical way to fan flames?
I think ethically fanning flames is an oxymoron. That's why I said I had a hard time. I have a hard time with that one, because I don't think you can ethically get under people's skin. And matter of fact, to get under some people's skin is probably to be unethical. You are pushing, you are poking, right, in a way that people are saying stop, right? What Kurt Cignetti did, and what he has done since he entered the Big Ten, is be Kurt Cignetti. And I think that's the part. Like, you know me, I've said this to you for 20 years. If you and me and Cuss be the same me and Cuss with everybody you meet, consistency is the most important part of all of this. And Kurt Cignetti showed up at a program that was garbage, to use that French term, and said with a straight face, I win. Google me. When the rest of us was like, bro, you at Indiana. And James Madison was a cute story. It's a great story, but you was at Indiana, and you ain't never coached on this level. Not like this. And he was like folding his arms, going, watch me. And that boy went 11-2 and lost to the two teams that played in the national championship. One at the end of the season, one in the postseason. Also, Indiana made the damn college football playoff. Come back again and was like, you know what? Fernando Mendoza was at Cal, but that ain't no world beater. That ain't no game changer. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got a lot of nice pieces. You got some vets, but all you dudes came from JMU, and, now everybody sees you coming. Them boys went 16-0. He got the number 1 draft pick. He got the Heisman Trophy winner. So when he says it about, hey, the Big Ten is the best league in football, and, we don't whine about it if we lose a football game, it is openly stomping on the SEC's image and logo. Because the thing the SEC and its sycophants have been trying to get the messaging on, and they have run this, right, talking about ethically, is that we are the best league in football. Matter of fact, we played 8 conference games because our 8 conference games are harder than your 9 conference games. They would say that, right? Now they're playing 9, they're whining about it because they know that they might not get 5 teams into the college football playoff this year, while the Big Ten got 3 last year, but only needed 3. Hell, 2 of them made the semifinal. And for the 3rd consecutive year, it's not just that the Big Ten won the national championship. It's that the SEC hadn't qualified for the national championship game in 4 years. And you know what? If Oregon is as good as I think they are, Ohio State is as good as I think they are, Indiana is as good as I think they are, USC is as good as Lincoln Riley thinks they are, hell, they might be boxed out for a 4th time. So it's not necessarily that he is ethically fanning flames so much as he is stating facts. And I think that is what makes this such a good and resounding statement. I talk about it a bunch. The best take is a fact that people want to argue, period. Because it is inarguable, and yet it gets under their skin. Oh, my God. Like it's as simple as Oklahoma made the college football playoff, and a Texas fan coming back with, but we beat that ass, though. Both things are true. One does not make the other one feel any less. If I go to a Texas fan and say, but y'all make the college football playoff, they come back with, but we whooped your ass. Yeah, like coming to America, whoop Joe Lewis's ass. That's right, he did whoop Joe Lewis's ass. That's right, he did whoop John Mateer's ass. That's right, Arch Manning did wave goodbye as he ran for 40 yards and slid, run out the clock. That is the stuff. That is, love that, right? That's what Curt Cignetti is doing here. And I think that is why it resonates. And, not for nothing, but to have the best game time talker in the game in the Big Ten. Can't nobody talk their noise quite like Curt Cignetti can talk their noise. On par with Coach Spurrier, by the way, old ball coach. Be your spokesman, but also be your champion. Like literally, your champion as a conference, but also your conference champion, the national champion. You can't draw it up better for Tony Petitti. And I think that's one of the other reasons why this 2014 playoff is going to get across the line. But that's for another show. I want to finish with some odds and ends here. As the Protect College Sports Act is going to go to the Senate floor this week, we think, and get a vote just before the August recess. If it gets out of the Senate, still got to get out of the House. And I still don't give this bill any way of passing. Because while the Big Ten, the SEC, and others have worked very hard to get this bill in shape to put in for a vote, you got senators now that are going to try to vote their consciences as opposed to vote for the local college football team. And that's a problem because it is an election year for many of them. What you look like voting against the home team. Okay? All right? Some of these things are going to curtail what the home team can do and how much they can do it for. Do you really want to come home in August, 3 months before the midterms, and have to campaign against that? No. College football is undefeated in the United States of America. You don't get caught voting the wrong way on this bill. But the other part of this is we have players that are looking to unionize once again. Look, I said it before. You want a salary cap, like a salary cap for players, not a salary cap for universities. You need a players union. And you need a players union so that the players union can negotiate with the conferences or universities on their behalf and form what is called a collective bargaining agreement. And from that collective bargaining agreement, you get your salary caps, kind of like the NFL. What Major League Baseball is going to try to attempt to do, what the NBA has done, what the WNBA spent the last summer yelling about, a league that is fit for drama and nearly nothing else. My God. And now you try to tell me that college football players are going to try to form unions, to which I'm saying, okay, cool. So you're going to form your union. Tell me, how long are you going to be a member of said union? 5 years. Is that all? What do you are you willing to forego a lot of the money that you might make so that the other players behind you can make more money? No. Does that make you look like the NFL where players union is soft? That goes, you know what? I'm a cave because I got mouths to feed right now. I don't give a damn about no workers' advantages in the future. Charity starts with me. And on top of that, college football as an entity is built to bust things like this. Ask Pat Fitzgerald what he thought when his players in Northwestern thought they were going to form a union. See what happened when he was head coach there. How far did that get? And then the National Labor Board, it can be like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, unions. All right, we guess. We'll recognize you. Cool, you're recognized. Now tell me what kind of clout you got. Because if your clout is locking out, I'm going to say, locking out means you don't get no money, right? Do you know that there are 11,000 FBS players? Do you know it would take almost all of them not playing football for months during the entire football season for you to get anything done? And even then, the universities and conferences can afford to bleed you out. They will bleed you out. So you can talk about a union. Hell, you could go try to form yourself a union. But as soon as you try to give your union teeth, let me tell you who's got a baseball bat to knock them out. The college football industry as a whole. All right, that's going to do it for tonight's episode of Adapt and Respond. If you like this show, send it to a friend or an enemy. Just make sure they like, subscribe, and watch the show. We love making it. All right, that's it for Ron, producer Ron, who does a great job putting this rundown together and keeping me in check, and myself. We will see y'all on the flip side. Deuces.